Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and this is Every Villain in Beware the Batman Animated Series Explored. What do you get when you put the world's greatest detective, a retired intelligence officer, and a highly trained martial artist with insane sword skills, along with a boatload of villains attempting to take over the city with criminal acts of violence? Beware the Batman Animated Series explores the adventures of the Caped Crusader, Batman, also known as Bruce Wayne, joined by his trusty butler, Alfred Pennyworth, and Katana, the lethal sword-wielding martial arts expert named after the samurai's preferred weapon of choice. So let's delve into this world of supervillains where they attempt to take over Gotham City and the city's Dark Knight in armor, Batman fighting them off with his trusty aides. Before we get into our explanation though, we do have one very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is just one small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, let's begin.
Batman.
Why Beware the Batman Animated Series is very underrated. DC Comics' most popular character, Batman, held his ground next to overpowered characters such as the Kryptonian alien Superman, the Amazonian warrior Wonder Woman, the Speedster, who is dubbed as the fastest man alive, the Flash, and the ruler of the oceans and the inhabitants within them, Aquaman. The character is known for becoming a massive hit in whichever movies, series, or books he appears in, earning him the Golden Touch moniker. Still, Batman has always been known for his fighting prowess in such media, whether it was Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy or the classic Batman the Animated Series. But Beware the Batman highlights an aspect of Batman that made him such a formidable character in the Justice League: his sleuthing skills as the world's greatest detective. The show benched popular villains such as the Joker and Catwoman in favor of lesser represented villains from his rogues gallery in the media. The move had a lot of conflicting views, with people claiming that it contributed to the show's poor popularity and merchandise sales. But it was quite refreshing to see our beloved Caped Crusader solve the crimes of his obscure antagonists with the help of Katana and Alfred. Putting in Katana as an aide for Batman was a stroke of genius, as it gave a respite from the troop of Batgirl and Robin. The swordswoman stuck with Batman as he mentored her to be a better hero. She was a significant part of the show and made us nostalgic for the dynamic duo of Batman and Robin, if of course Robin was older and a woman. But we digress. The show could have added much more comedic elements to the story, but the dark and gritty vibe it embraced was quite entertaining. The show's graphics reminded us of the 2019 Addams Family animated film, which makes Gotham City feel more like the city of crime that it's portrayed to be. Although the series took a big gamble in its choice of villains and allies for the Guardians of Gotham, the series respected all the viewers and provided an excellent portrayal of Batman. Even though we would have liked to see the Clown Prince of Crime take on Batsy with his antics, Beware the Batman still provided an excellent and thrilling viewing experience.
Dude, who are you?
Call me...
Number 1. Anarchy. A villain resembling Marvel's Moon Knight decided to ditch his fondness for the moon and embrace Anarchy. Anarchy is the main antagonist of the show, who is clad in a white cape and hood, with a symbol of anarchy on his chest. His first appearance in the series was when he provided his henchmen, Daedalus and Junkyard Dog, with the necessary weapons to create mayhem all over the city of Gotham. Like a lovesick boyfriend trying to get his lover's attention, Anarchy did all of this to get the attention of the greatest detective in the world. Anarchy believed that it was only through anarchy and total chaos that the world could achieve true freedom. He played the part of a puppet master throughout the show, with his series of schemes and the help of his minions. It was like he was trying to play a game with Batman, reminding all of us of the Joker. So how did Anarchy create anarchy throughout Gotham City and the series? Well, let's take a look at the powers that he used in his attempt to sow anarchy. He is an intellectual considered a genius on the level of Albert Einstein. The peak condition of his body that he achieved through constant training granted him superior agility, endurance, reflexes, speed, and strength. For those of you who think that he sounds like a white-clad version of Batman, well, you wouldn't be wrong. He even had a utility belt, which only increased his similarities to Batman, but he occasionally used firearms, making the shotgun his preferred weapon of choice. Professor Pig. We wonder what was going through this gentleman's head when he decided to use a pig for the theme of his supervillain era. Even though he looks like Kingpin chose to wear a pig mask, Professor Pig considers himself to be the savior of animals. He goes after anyone who shows cruelty towards animals, and designated himself as the savior of the animal kind. Professor Pig, along with his partner in crime Mr. Toad, are eco-terrorists, as they like to call themselves. They intended to capture the most prominent industrialists of Gotham City, who were destroying the environment and threatening the flora and fauna of a local local wetland with their land dealings. Professor Pig is based on Pygmalion, an ancient king from Greek mythology, but thankfully, his powers were not based on the sculptor from ancient Greece. Professor Pig is a skilled hand-to-hand combat specialist who takes it to another level with his animal-based enhanced strength. He was a firearm user that used a blunderbuss. For the non-weapon crazy ones, a blunderbuss is basically a gun with a flared muzzle end to shoot bigger bullets. Professor Pig also used tranquilizers, as he thought it was iconic to hunt people who hunt animals with tools used to hunt down those animals. He also used a giant bone saw for close quarters combat. Number 3. Humpty Dumpty. We all know the Humpty Dumpty from nursery rhymes, but this Humpty Dumpty, on the other hand, never sat on a wall, but he was just as broken. The shattered Humpty Dumpty, whose real name is Humphrey Dumpler, is a vengeance-seeking maniac who loses his mind after an attack on him. The attack was prompted when Humpty Dumpty decided to snitch on his boss. Well, snitches, as they say, get stitches, especially when you snitch on one of the biggest mobsters in Gotham City. Tobias Whale didn't exactly take the betrayal kindly, and Humpty Dumpty certainly got his stitches. The egg-shaped man escaped from the police and decided to go around the city with his desire for revenge burning. Humpty Dumpty, who looked more like the Kingpin's doppelganger than Professor Pig, was a genius in the field of robotics and engineering. His skills in chemical engineering made him a prodigy in bomb making and explosives. He had a deep obsession with video games and toys. Maybe that's why he decided to use the kid's nursery rhyme. His intellect granted him an excellent aptitude for numbers, which helped him create elaborate plans for his vendetta. His lack of trust in the police force, after their incompetence in protecting him, made Humpty Dumpty take matters into his own hands. Humpty Dumpty created a variety of puzzles and traps that Batman solves in the show.
Oh, do we have a deal?
Number 4. Lady Shiva. Let us meet the first female villain on our list. The black-haired ninja is the commander of the League of Assassins that operates in the shadows of this crime-riddled world. By coincidence, she is also the first high-ranking villain who is a member of the legendary League of Assassins that Batman encounters in the show. Lady Shiva, whose real name is Sandra Wu-san, was feared by the ninjas and assassins, who were members of the League of Assassins. She was also the commander of the villain Silver Monkey, until he attempted a mutiny. He suffered an utter defeat at the hands of the Green-Eyed Assassin. His rebellion was thwarted, as he did not receive support from the rest of the League of Assassins, who feared the power of Lady Shiva. So what powers made Lady Shiva such a fear-inducing League of Assassins member, and an antagonist for the Cape Crusader? Well, she had mastered the way of the sword, which granted her lethal swordsmanship skills. Her training in the League of Assassins blessed her with peak agility and flexibility, enabling her to move at high speeds and execute flips, kicks, and other acrobatic moves. Lady Shiva was also a genius at strategics and tactics, which made her a great villain and the commander of the League of Assassins. Lady Shiva demonstrated superior skills in martial arts and hand-to-hand combat. In the show, during her fights with Batman and Katana, her skills in martial arts have already been established. Number 5. Mr. Toad. It's time to take a look at the partner in crime of our animal-themed villain, Professor Pig. It makes sense that the animal-loving and self-styled eco-terrorist would have a mutated frog as his ally. Compared to his accomplice, Professor Pig, who is just a man in a pig mask, Mr. Toad, on the other hand, is a humanoid African toad who speaks with a German accent. Go figure that out. The first mutant to appear in the series, Mr. Toad worked alongside Professor Pig. They wreaked havoc across the city by kidnapping the industrialists and taking down the people that they believed were hurting the environment and the animals therein. Professor Pig and Mr. Toad were also responsible for transforming Manbat in their attempt to turn everyone in Gotham City into humanoid animals. As expected of a mutant, Mr. Toad had a few special powers up his sleeve. Just like the African toad that he looks like, Mr. Toad can jump relatively high, which is enhanced by his humanoid transformation. He also has the ability to emit bursts of hyperconcussive sonic energy whenever he croaks. This is something you don't want to be at the receiving end of, though, as demonstrated by our crime-fighting guardian of Gotham. He can also use his tongue to grasp things, making him a sticky opponent that is hard to let go of. It would have been nice if he just grabbed flies with his tongue, but with his size, he might need a bigger target. Number 6. Magpie. Well, Edna from The Incredibles grew taller and decided that she was a fan of the Queen of Dragons from Game of Thrones. This is Magpie's first appearance in animation and has many similarities with other villains of The Dark Knight. She suffered from multiple personality disorder and was subjected to experimentation. Magpie is the only villain in the series that is shown to be attracted to Batman and want to get romantically involved with him. So she is quite similar to the character of Catwoman, who was also romantically involved with Batman and had similar costumes and personalities. Her two personalities series were like night and day, which is iconic as she switches these personalities from the day shifts to night. The silent and caring woman present during the day is replaced by the kleptomaniac Magpie at night. Magpie's primary weapons of choice are a pair of claws laced with poison, another Catwoman reference. She can retract these claws into herself and bring them back out whenever she wants. Talk about freaky. I wonder what other characters can retract their claws and bring them out whenever they need to fight. Her claws are laced with a rare and highly potent poison called Curare, although it does sound like a safety hazard, retracting your claws with deadly poison back into your body. Magpie also has a superhuman durability as she is immune to pain, an after effect of the experimentations that she was subjected to. A master gymnast and martial arts expert, Magpie has achieved the pinnacle of agility, reflexes, flexibility, and accuracy. Number 7. Cipher. Cipher might look like he's the love child of Green Lantern from the DC Comics and Ultron from the Marvel Comics. But don't get us wrong, Cipher is an antagonist that has been a massive headache for the Caped Crusader. He is an agent of the League of Assassins who was sent to steal the plans for the Ion Cortex, an energy unit that could solve the world's energy needs. Cipher takes control over people and uses them to commit his acts of terror. His victims include Katana, Batman himself, Magpie, Phosphorus Rex, and Jason Burr. Cipher is portrayed as a cyborg in the show, who can take control of a person's mind by using his cables to plug into their head. If he has trapped the person long enough in his control, he can even control them without using this cable. His limbs are capable of sticking onto any surface, kind of like a lizard, or even Spider-Man from the Marvel Comics. He uses this ability to crawl over walls. Even though Cipher has such a cheating skill, he is also plagued by many weaknesses. His cables could render him unconscious if they were implanted into his skull. He also felt pain from his victims of mind control. That sounds really painful, especially when your opponent is Batman.
When I said ours, I wasn't including you.
Number 8. TwoFace. Here we have the District Attorney of Gotham City. He is a law-abiding model citizen known for his sense of justice and respect for the law, but he has another face that is hidden from the public. Harvey Dent was not hesitant to use illegal methods to bring his goals to fruition. He had a vendetta against villains and the vigilantes who took the law into their own hands. He created a task force to bring all of the so-called criminals to justice. Unlike previous character adaptations, Harvey Dent is not portrayed as an ally of Batman, but rather an antagonist who wants to bring him down. The series focused more on Harvey Dent and his growth, rather than focusing on TwoFace himself. Although it could be argued that they are indeed the same person, Harvey Dent's hidden persona of TwoFace is an immoral character, with a cruel streak a mile wide. His partnership with Anarchy showed how desperate he truly was for the fall of Batman. He was cunning in the way he used his resources, as well as people around him, to achieve his goals. Number 9. Phosphorus Rex. Well, it looks like we're going to get a visit from the Human Torch from the Marvel Comics. Phosphorus Rex, whose real name is Milo Match, is the third mutant to appear in the series. An attorney employed by Tobias Whale, one of the biggest crime lords in Gotham City, Phosphorus Rex is also his chief enforcer. He drops his Milo Match persona when he is out to commit his crimes and becomes Phosphorus Rex. A powerful mutant with the ability of pyrokinesis, that is, the ability to control fire, Phosphorus Rex can create powerful flames capable of mass destruction. Using his powers caused his face and his hands to be engulfed in fire, similar to how Ghost Rider uses his powers. However, his appearance is identical to Heat Blast from Ben 10. He has an ability called the Atmospheric Microwave Field, which allows him to incinerate projectiles at close range. Combined with his fire generation and mimicry, his pyrokinesis skills make him a fearsome antagonist. Number 10. Raz Al Ghul. Let us meet the oldest character in the series, who is over 600 years old. Raz Al Ghul, whose name translates to the Head of Death in Arabic, is the leader of the mysterious League of Assassins, a terrorist organization of highly trained ninjas. He intends to cull the human population and remake the world more harmoniously, in tune with nature. Even though he is over 6 centuries old, he appears to be in his late 50s. He maintains his youth with the aid of the Soul Taker's sword, which is capable of reaping the souls of its victims. Raz Al Ghul is a master strategist and manipulator who has an extensive collection of knowledge that he has accumulated over the centuries of his existence. He has enhanced strength, stamina, and speed, which makes him an expert swordsman and martial artist. He can go into a state of suspended animation or hibernation, which can help his de-aging process and provides him with near immortality, courtesy of the Soul Taker's sword. But the sword turned out to be a double-edged blade, as Raz Al Ghul was dragged into the abyss of darkness by the souls of his enemies that were trapped within the sword. Batman released the trapped souls after he defeated Raz Al Ghul, and they exacted their revenge upon the ancient assassin. Number Number 11, League of Assassins. Now, let's take a look at the mysterious terrorist organization of assassins and ninjas operating within the world's shadows. The League of Assassins is the show's main antagonist in the initial part. We have already met two of the high-ranking members of the organization, the commander Lady Shiva and its leader Raz Al Ghul. The ancient order of mercenaries targeted the ion cortex, the energy source rumored to be the solution of the world's energy crisis. Members of the organization, such as Cipher and Silver Monkey, were sent to steal the plans for the ion cortex. Batman and Katana, who were former members of the Dark League, also known as the League of Shadows, foil their plans and kidnap the creator of the ion cortex and its plans. The League of Assassins is a deadly organization with a misguided aim to change the world that stalks its prey in the darkness that shrouds the world. Each League member undergoes brutal training, turning them into highly efficient killing machines. Individuals in the League of Assassins have unique powers, such as Cipher with his mind control ability. The members would be highly skilled in unarmed combat, especially close quarters combat, marksmanship, swordsmanship, and the art of killing. Every member would be well versed in stealth and can carry out assassinations with the target never knowing what happened.
The world has plenty of energy, but we aren't using it correctly.
Number 12, Jason Burr. The target of the League of Assassins who coveted his new creation, the ion cortex, Jason Burr is a brilliant physicist who invented an energy source that could change the world. He is in love with Katana, and she saves him from the mercenaries sent after him. Katana is annoyed with his attempts to court her, but she eventually agrees to have a date with him. During the preparation for their date, Jason Burr was attacked by Cipher and put under his mind control ability. Jason Burr's eyes change into a sinister green color, which could have been a prelude to his birth as the supervillain Cobra, his alter ego in the comics, although he never actually becomes Cobra in the series, which is such a shame if you ask us. However, in the series he does join the League of Assassins after a conversation with Lady Shiva and ends up working for them. The physicist who shook the world with his creation, Jason Burr's intelligence was off the charts. He is shown in the series helping Katana analyze notes from Mr. Toad and creating solutions for the League of Assassins. His intellectual mind solved many problems in the series, and he was pursued by the League of Assassins for this very mind. Number 13, Tobias Whale. The mobster who rules over the organized crime world of Gotham City, this crime lord Tobias Whale worked his way up the ranks from the ladder's lowest rung. Jim Gordon is pulling his hair out due to his battle with this notorious criminal, but Whale has plenty of enemies other than the Bat of Gotham and its commissioner of police. Humpty Dumpty, who we've seen already, has a vendetta against Tobias Whale, who ordered the attack that left Humpty Dumpty insane. He is nicknamed the Great White Whale and has immense superhuman strength. He could give even Hercules a run for his money. Tobias Whale is a gangster whose cruelty knows no bounds. He attempts to murder Commissioner Jim Gordon, and the people that he cares about are constantly thwarted by Batman and Gordon himself. Tobias Whale's super strength earned him a reputation as a fearsome mobster and the king of Gotham's criminal world. Number 14, Killer Croc. Here we have a familiar face who has made numerous appearances on the big screen. Killer Croc is a savage beast who ascended to being a crime boss at the Blackgate Penitentiary. He took the name Killer Croc while disregarding his real name, Waylon Jones. He can be seen targeting the cyborg named Kay in the show. He crosses fists with Batman constantly and is almost beaten to a state of death by Batman in a wrestling match. Killer Croc was saved by the bell. Okay, we're just kidding. He was saved by Katana, who pulled Batman off the knocked out villain. The crocodile-themed supervillain's reptilian physiology grants him superhuman strength and reflexes. His hide is so thick that it is almost like armor. His superhuman reptilian skin is a primary defense for the creature. He has razor-sharp teeth and claws, which he uses to maul his enemies and disfigure them. He also has regenerative powers based on a reptile that allow him to heal most injuries over time. He is also skilled in hand-to-hand combat, preferring to beat his prey to death in a match with superior strength. The king of all prisoners in Blackgate Penitentiary, Killer Croc is suspected to be a cannibal, as he claims Batman's arm was tasty after he bit it. The first mutant animal to appear in the series that had no connection to Mr. Toad or Professor Pig, Killer Croc is a natural-born mutant with the instincts of a wild predator. Number 15, Lunkhead. This chocolate-loving thug got his name from his fight with the Guardian of Gotham. Lunkhead is a muscular and colossal guy who is 7 feet tall. His battle with Batman left him in a comatose state for almost 2 months, which instilled hate for Batman within him. Batman's power was demonstrated as his punch put Lunkhead into a coma and caused a lump to form on his head. He then reverted to childlike behavior. He was subjected to the same experiments that Magpie was. An attempt was made to fix the damage that he had sustained to his head, but it was unsuccessful. Jim Gordon of the Gotham Police Department used Lunkhead for information whenever he needs dirt on the criminal underworld. He is powerfully built with an immense physique, granting him superhuman strength. He is also a a former inmate of the Blackgate Penitentiary, and for that, Lunkhead despises returning to prison. Number 16. Manbat. A scientist who uses a serum that got changed into the animal that he was researching sounds oddly familiar. Manbat, whose real name was Dr. Kirk Langstrom, spent his life researching bats until he developed a serum that turned him into a humanoid bat. Professor Pig and Mr. Toad quickly exploited the situation and planted electrical implants into him that allowed them to control him. Why is it that every time something is related to an animal, these two are involved? He is seen as a normal human, albeit slightly mutated when the electrical implants are not functioning. The last mutant to appear in the series, the Doctor's research was stolen by Professor Pig and Mr. Toad. In the series, when Manbat is not being controlled by these two, he is an ally of the Gotham Guardian. After his mutation, Dr. Kirk Langstrom discovered new powers from the brown bat species, which he was researching. He developed the ability to fly and glide along with his echolocation, which allows him to locate things using sound. He also had enhanced hearing and strength. He even had retractable claws. Now, where have we seen that before? The Doctor also had a case of chimerism, as he has the DNA of both a human and a bat in one body. Number 17. Key. Next, we have a cyborg that can unlock any door and access any computer, no matter how secure it is. It sounds like something that would be extremely useful the next time you get locked out of the house. Key is a highly sought-after criminal because of these skills. However, his skills put him in hot water most of the time. He was kidnapped by Killer Croc and had to be rescued by Batman, although it was not much of a rescue for Key, as he was soon after handed over to the Gotham City Police. Key even created a fake identity used by Deathstroke in his vendetta against Alfred Pennyworth. Key is a highly resourceful cyborg whose hands can mold into the shape of any key. Talk about a super master key. He also has retractable key claws that can download information and security keys from computers into his brain. He is capable of extracting and stealing a person's mental energy, along with being an expert at forgery. His forgeries are said to be an identical copy of the original. Anarchy consulted Key, as he was the only one who could provide the necessary information that Anarchy required to complete his game against Batman. Number 18. Silver Monkey. Thankfully, Professor Pig and Mr. Toad don't make an appearance in this villain story. Silver Monkey was a mysterious League of Assassins member who wore traditional shinobi or ninja armor and a snarling monkey face mask. He was the mastermind behind the coup against the commander of the League of Assassins, Lady Shiva, but his rebellion failed as the remaining League members feared Lady Shiva's power. She was aware of the fact that Silver Monkey was attempting a mutiny and utterly annihilated him. She used the Soul Taker's sword to reap the soul of Dr. Bethany Ravencroft, who was Silver Monkey's partner. His attempts at keeping the sword's existence secret and using it to take down Lady Shiva were foiled. He was seen being dragged away by the members of the League of Assassins. Like the rest of the League of Assassins members, Silver Monkey was a highly trained martial artist who ran along the League's training gauntlet. He was a master of disguise. He was such a master of the craft that we have not seen the true face of Silver Monkey in the series. He achieved peak human agility, speed, accuracy, and flexibility, making him an efficient assassin and ninja. Like a stereotypical ninja, Silver Monkey used smoke bombs for a quick escape, and a kunai as his primary weapon. He even used clawed hands for grappling and climbing. Silver Monkey helped Batman escape the League's pursuit, and even attempted to defeat Lady Shiva, but he ultimately failed, and met his fate as Lady Shiva used the Soul Taker's sword to take his soul. He was also the only anti-hero present in the show. Number 19. Metamorpho. The second mutant to appear in the show after Mr. Toad, Metamorpho is the first mutant to be professed as a redeemed hero. Initially, Metamorpho was a security guard for the affluent Simon Stagg, named Rex Mason. He fell in love with the wealthy businessman Stagg's daughter, Sapphire Stagg. The furious Simon Stagg decided to kill the man who was unworthy of his daughter and trapped the poor Rex Mason in a chamber filled with a mix of experimental chemicals. But rather than the death that Simon Stagg had expected, Rex Mason underwent a radical transformation in which his cellular structure was modified. The mutant was comprised of elemental materials such as ice, rock, and metal, which emerged from the chamber. Horrified by his transformation, Rex Mason attacks Simon Stagg to achieve revenge. Batman intervenes and thwarts the plan. Batman also tries to to capture Rex in the same chamber that transformed him into a mutant, but is unsuccessful. Sapphire is repulsed by Mason's new appearance and refuses to be with him. Rex Mason slowly vanishes and reappears as Metamorpho in an old church in Gotham. He becomes a crime-fighting vigilante with his abilities. Metamorpho's ability for elemental transmutation and mimicry demonstrates his fearsome power. Dubbed the Golem of Old Gotham, Metamorpho can transform his body, typically his hands, into various tools and weapons, such as knives, clubs, maces, and shields. Moreover, he can convert his body from liquid to gaseous. Metamorpho also demonstrates the ability to regulate his body temperature, making himself either incredibly hot or cold. Moreover, he could also unleash lightning bolts after absorbing the electricity from Batman's stun batons. Dr. Anatole Mas, the leader of the super international criminal group known as the Council, Dr. Anatole Mas was a supervillain that found an injured Manhunter. He used his resources to create robotic clones of the Manhunter. These robotic clones were used to assist him in his plans to take over the world. Dr. Anatole Mas kidnapped the daughter of Paul Kirk, the Manhunter's daughter, Ava Kirk. Batman, the Manhunter, and Katana then conduct a rescue operation and free the captured girl. He is the only villain in the series that did not make a second appearance, and the only member of the Council that is shown in the series. Dr. Anatole Mas is a genius of extraordinary intellect that created clones out of the Manhunter. He had extensive knowledge of genetics and was a brilliant scientist. He conducted experiments that gave him a more profound knowledge to make the clones that assisted him. His experimentations on Paul Kirk were cut short when one of the scientists figured out his real plan of taking over the world by overthrowing the world's governments. The scientist freed Kirk, who escaped and returned to destroy the organization that subjected him to torturous experiments. Number 21. Manhunters. The Council made an army of mindless and inorganic Manhunters to help them overthrow the world's governments. The clones created by Dr. Anatole Mas, who we mentioned earlier, to assist him in taking over the world, the Manhunters were created from the DNA of Paul Kirk. Kirk was tortured and kept in animation suspension while they experimented on him. Dr. Anatole Mas believed that Kirk was too valuable of a specimen to waste, and his skills as a fighter and tracker were worth copying. The clones were gifted with the tracking and human skills of Paul Kirk, which made them lethal hunters. They had enhanced physical attributes along with superhuman agility and acrobatics. They also had superhuman strength and accelerated healing with regeneration. Paul Kirk was shown to be hunting down his clones to prevent them from wreaking havoc across the world. Number 22. The Council. A secret organization that was led by Dr. Anatole Mas, the Council was filled with mad scientists and terrorists that were hell-bent on taking over the world. Nothing much is known about this mysterious organization other than the fact that Dr. Mas is its leader. The Council conducted experiments on Paul Kirk, whom they found injured while on a safari trip. They tortured him relentlessly in an effort to replicate his skills as a fighter. They succeeded in their attempts, as they made an army of Manhunter clones capable of quickly annihilating their enemies. Dr. Anatole Mas is the only member of the Council shown in the series, as Dr. Horace Spangle quit the organization after realizing the International Criminal Society's plans for world domination. He was soon killed for his troubles. The fate of the mysterious Council remains unknown after the arrest of Dr. Anatole Mas. It was never revealed in the show if there were any more members. Number 23. Deathstroke. A killing machine that shows no mercy. Deathstroke, also known as Slade Wilson, was a CIA agent on loan to MI6, and he was taken under Alfred Pennyworth's wing. Deathstroke's brutality and reckless behaviors forced Alfred Pennyworth to file a report against him. The report got Deathstroke fired, and his desire for vengeance against the man who ruined his life begins. The first character on the show to have 4 separate identities, Deathstroke uses his identity as Dane Listlow, the captain of Harvey Dent's Special Crime Unit, to ruin Batman. His extreme measures to achieve his goals make him a formidable foe. Deathstroke's physiology was highly modified by experiments conducted on him by his employers such as the CIA. His harsh training under Alfred Pennyworth also contributed to his achievement of enhanced strength, agility, and stamina. He also has accelerated healing that replaces decaying cells in his body, keeping him in his prime. He also has enhanced senses similar to Spider-Man's Spidey senses that let him sense danger. He is also an expert swordsman and a martial artist. A master swordsman with insane driving skills, who is also a master of disguise, Deathstroke's genius-level intellect makes him fighting with Batman interesting to watch. He has an extreme tolerance for pain and indomitable power. It is pretty surprising that he hasn't gotten a Green Lantern ring based on his willpower alone. A villain that hounds the Cape Crusader constantly, Deathstroke is the secondary antagonist of the latter part of the series.
Do you see them? Very clearly.
Number 24. The Ghosts. A group of people that haunt an abandoned industrial park. Just like real ghosts, the ghosts are a band of small-time criminals and homeless people who live in the Cauldron, which was once a prosperous area with many thriving businesses. Due to the recession that struck Gotham City, the once successful companies became bankrupt and were forced to shut down their shops. The financial situation became so bad that the people without anywhere else to go, who were living there, turned to crime in order to survive. The Cauldron was soon taken over by the ghosts of Gotham City. The ghosts consider fuel, food, and water as their most valuable resources, as the Cauldron doesn't have any power. The Gotham City Police Department tries to control this area, but have often failed. They decided against making another attempt as the ghosts kept to themselves and didn't really bother others often. The ghosts dress similar to their namesake. They look like ghosts in their hoods, cloaks, and masks. Like a pack of wolves, they travel in huge numbers. They are highly territorial and are good at brawling. They are mediocre fighters at best, equipped with scraps like baseball bats and iron rods, until Tobias Whale provides them with firearms and other deadly weapons. While the ghosts don't possess any talented or powerful individuals, they sure make up for it in their numbers. Number 25. Simon Stagg. So, remember when Professor Pig and Mr. Toad kidnapped a few successful industrialists involved in a shady land deal? Well, Simon Stagg made his first appearance in the series back when he was one of those wealthy industrialists. Batman eventually rescued him. He is established as a villain in the show after he tries to murder his daughter Sapphire Stagg's lover, Rex Mason, who was an employee that worked as a security guard for him. His attempted murder failed, as the chamber where he tricked Mason into going into as part of an experiment called Project Metamorpho ended up mutating Mason instead of killing him. His disapproval of his daughter's choice of her partner made him an attempted murderer. A self-centered and egotistical maniac, Simon Stagg was not hesitant to use any means necessary to achieve his goals and further his ambitions, even if that meant using illegal methods. He was eventually incarcerated for his murder attempt on Rex Mason. Number 26. Sapphire Stagg. The daughter of one of the wealthiest industrialists in Gotham City, Simon Stagg, who made his fortune using any means necessary, Sapphire Stagg inherited her father's ambitions and his lack of hesitance to use illegal methods. She was in love with Rex Mason, her father's employee. Her father disapproved of him and arranged the accident that turned Mason into Metamorpho. Even though she loved Rex Mason, she couldn't be with him after he had transformed. After her father's arrest, she takes over the Stagg Industries. She plans to vandalize old Gotham and harass the residents of the area. She hires mercenaries and terrorists and provides them with military-grade exoskeletons that her company had designed. So why did she do all of this? Well, it was to reduce the price of land in old Gotham so that she could acquire it more cheaply and redevelop it. Her plans were foiled by her old lover, Metamorpho, who teamed up with Batman and Katana to stop the invading threat. Just like her old man though, she is always chasing after profits. Number 27. Doodlebug. An anarchist who is the henchman of Anarchy, Daedalus's comic book identity of Doodlebug is not mentioned in the show. He is portrayed as a minion of Anarchy who is recruited to create mayhem all over Gotham. Daedalus is apprehended by Batman, but is busted out of custody by Anarchy for his nefarious plans. Daedalus is the main antagonist in the episode where he is equipped with an electronic rifle, courtesy of Anarchy. He is also seen wearing a protective suit that has dual acid guns attached to it. Anarchy provides him with the equipment he needs for destruction on a massive scale. Number 28. Junkyard Dog. Let us meet the partner of Daedalus, also known as Doodlebug, who has been with him through thick and thin. Junkyard, whose real name is Tucker Long, was the partner of Daedalus and a fellow believer in Anarchy. He was apprehended along with his comrade by Batman when they were vandalizing a store in Gotham using graffiti. We respect the artistic talents of these young men, but their intentions behind the act were not so pure. After he was arrested, he was freed by Anarchy, who wanted minions so that he could sow the seeds of anarchy and spread mayhem all across the city. Anarchy provided a steel-cutting chainsaw, shout out to Chainsaw Man, to Junkyard. His equipment was soon upgraded to a protective suit with an industrial-grade lifting clamp. Although he was provided with highly destructive weapons, he was ultimately defeated. Number 29. Matatoa. A maniac who thought he was immortal because he ate the heart of his enemy, Matatoa is a resident of the Blackgate Penitentiary. He wields two swords that he uses in his fights. Like Killer Croc, who also fought Batman, Matatoa eventually suffered defeat at the hands of the Caped Crusader. There is little information about this mysterious figure, whose name means fearless in Matori. He has reached the summit of human strength and agility, making him a tricky opponent. The character made his debut animation appearance in this series. He is characterized as a cannibal, just like his fellow inmate Killer Croc, because of his organ-eating tendencies. We wish we could have seen more of this immortal dual-sword wielder who ate the hearts of his enemies. Number 30. Bethany Ravencroft. The second character in the series first appeared as a side character, but was eventually turned into a villain. Simon Stagg was the first, for any of those viewers who are keeping count. Bethany Ravencroft was a psychotherapist who worked in Gotham City and treated patients like Magpie and Bruce Wayne. Although her treatment of Bruce Wayne was a sham, the Caped Crusader had made an excuse to get her into office. He used his identity as Bruce Wayne under the guise of receiving treatment to access her office. Dr. Bethany Ravencroft was also the scientist who conducted the experiments that created Magpie. Magpie wanted her memories back, which were lost because of the experiments. She followed Dr. Bethany Ravencroft around using her persona Cassie. Although she kidnaps the doctor to force her to reverse the experiments, Batman soon foils her plan and rescues the doctor. Later in the series, we see Dr. Bethany working with the League of Assassins, specifically Silver Monkey, in order to lure Bruce Wayne into a trap. She loses her soul after being taken by the Soul Taker's sword wielded by Lady Shiva, who is displeased by Bethany's and Silver Monkey's betrayal. Marvel's verdict. Beware the Batman deserves more recognition as a show that took risks in its choice of villains and the portrayal of the world's greatest detective. The show brought in villains from the Rogues Gallery that are virtually unknown to people unless you're a hardcore comic book fan. This memorable show deserves more time in the spotlight, and watching how the broody Guardian of Gotham takes down criminals and solves complex puzzles is quite the delight to watch. Did you ever watch Beware the Batman? What were your favorite villains? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Until next time, have a good one and be safe.